is spinning round like it's going live. So wonderful. Okay, great. Welcome, everyone to the Being Your Brand live series. Thank you so much for joining us. So before I introduce our wonderful guest, I'd like to just share a little bit about what Being Your Brand is all about. It's a conversation with visionary founders, multi-six and seven figures, people who have been successfully leading and making a commercial impact and also making an impact in people's lives through their business, through themselves. So leading with their personal brand and actually making good stuff happen whilst also making good money as well. So today we have Lisa Johnson with us, and I would just like to share a little bit about her. If you've never come across, I'm sure a lot of you already have. So Lisa Johnson is a global business strategist and Sunday Times bestselling author. Lisa makes 90% of her income through passive or semi-passive revenue streams and is known for helping thousands of entrepreneurs build businesses that work for their life, not against it. I love that. Her results speak for themselves. In 2021, during the global pandemic, she made 3 million in 1 week with 1.2 million in the first hour. I want to know how that actually even felt. She then went from £30,000 in debt to becoming a multi-million-pound entrepreneur in just 5 years. And her strategic, ethical approach to business has inspired a global audience. I've been and seeing Lisa in probably for a fair few years, and I've always admired the tenacity, consistency, and your grit and how you've really shaped your online presence. And this was one of the very reasons I wanted to get you onto this live and just delve in a little bit deeper, because there's conversations. This is why I'm also doing the Being Your Brand series, because there's conversations about people's journey, where they have got to today, and talking about that story. What I would like to explore and delve into, well, actually, who is the being behind the brand, behind those decisions? Who have you had to become in order for all of this to happen? Because it doesn't, as happen just overnight. It doesn't just happen by fluke. So Lisa, welcome, and thank you so much for giving us your time today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Wonderful. So my first question, and I'm going to delve right in, right?
Go for it.
So my first question to you is, what have you had to unlearn and learn about yourself to step into the person that you are today?
I'm still doing that. I don't think that is a what have you had to do. I think I'm still doing that. I think we
Yes.
all do. I've had to unlearn so much about who I am. I think we grow up thinking we are something, and we probably are at that point. But I've had to learn that I can be anything and can be anyone. And I've had to learn that my background doesn't define me. Because I come from poverty. And so I believed for a long period of time that people like me can't become leaders, can't become multimillionaires, can't become people that have impact. And I had to learn that wasn't true. And then along the way, I've had to continue learning. So when I learned I could do all of those things, and that the person that I was could do those things, and did them, we made 20 million in 7 years. Then it was, is this who I want to be? And that's a completely different question, because I think people always talk about who you have to be to get there.
Yeah.
I think a more interesting question is who you need to be to then realize maybe that isn't where you wanted to get.
Yeah. Okay.
Because there's so many people that think that this is where I want to get to. Like, I want to make money. I want to get to this point. And they see a mountain. And then they get to the top of that mountain and they realize there's only going to be more mountains. And the problem with that is, well, is this the mountain I want to be on? Or should I have been down there at that mountain over there that I actually was really enjoying? And I think the problem is you then have to become somebody who allows yourself, in the eyes of everyone else, to go backwards, which
Yeah.
you're not actually going backwards, but it can look like you're going backwards when actually you're
Mm.
moving forwards to the place where you really wanted to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's been a real learning, to be able to do that, and having to change who I think I am as a person, like someone who is always successful, who is always at the top, who is always the person that is doing the biggest launches in the UK and, you know, is known for being a pioneer in this space, to, is that even who I want to be? Or did I just
Mm.
become that because that's the persona that I thought I needed to be?
Yeah. And what signals have you had for that? You know, for it to, I guess that what I'm hearing is a little bit of like, is this truly me? And that sort of, you know, is there a feeling of disconnect or misalignment? So
Yeah.
what signals were they for you?
I think realizing, I got to a point and I looked back and I couldn't remember the day I'd made the first million. I couldn't remember the day that I became a
Right.
Sunday Times bestseller. I could remember loads of the journey and the fun
Mm.
parts of the journey, but realizing that actually getting the achievement didn't really matter that much to me, enough for me to even remember what it felt like. And so that made me think, do I really want to be here? But also, I was on a success train that, if I'm honest about it, the industry put me on. Just like you do in a
Right.
workplace when you have a 9 to 5 or whatever, you can get onto a hamster wheel in this business space where success looks like making 6 figures, then 7 figures, then having a #1 podcast, then having a bestseller and getting invited to Necker and all the things that, you know, we're told are the thing to do.
Mm.
And I was on that journey and I ticked off all of it, and then realized, is this what I actually want? I don't know what my version of success is anymore. Is this my version of success because I'm achieving it? Or is this the industry's version of success and I've not actually stopped to think about it? And that was true.
Mm.
I had never stopped to think about, because I'd never expected to get here. I'd hoped and I'd prayed that I'd be able to make £2,000 a month so that I wouldn't have to go back to my job and I could spend time with my baby twins.
Yeah.
That is the reason that I wanted to do this. But as can always happen, you hit one goal and then you're an ambitious person, so you want the next and the next without stopping to think, where does that stop? And it was only when people said, oh, amazing, you're at $6 million, when you get into 10, when I was in the US, that I went, God, when am I allowed to stop? When
Mm.
is this achievement enough? And that's when I just stopped and went back to basics and went, what do I actually want?
Yeah. So how did you make that distinction for yourself?
I didn't do it with myself. I sat down with my family and said, what do we want as a family?
Oh, I love that.
What does success look like for us? Because we'd never done it. And the kids had been, how old were they? 4 when all of this started. So they'd
Mhm.
never known a life that wasn't in luxury. They'd never known anything that wasn't a business class seat. And I was like, what matters to you guys? And they didn't care about any of that.
Right.
And, you know, Sam wants to live in the country, my husband, and he had, his priorities are peace. That's his biggest priority, in health.
That. You're right.
And my kids were to be with their friends, and, you know, that's all that matters to them. And then I started to think about what mine were. And
Mm.
mine, actually, all of the things that I've ever done, the things I've enjoyed the most is when I've made an impact or I've had amazing experiences. It's not really about things so much. And so we made a decision, okay, well, then why are we living in this multi-million-pound house with a pool? Like, if
Mhm.
that's not why did we buy it? And we sat there and went, why did we buy it? And it became very obvious that we bought it as a vanity project
Right.
to show little me, who couldn't even afford to eat, that I wasn't there anymore. And so we made the decision to put it on the market, and it's on the market, and we're changing everything because I have realized that the kind of life that I want is one of impact over income, and
Yeah.
that income is actually only a byproduct of impact
Mm.
anyway. It's just that you can lose that along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And do you know what I've always admired about you, Lisa, is your honesty. And, you know, just again, you're just sharing with such genuine honesty. And that takes skill. That takes a certain kind of person to be vulnerable, to be able to share, not just hear what you share here, what you share, online, Facebook, Instagram, all of that kind of thing. How have you come about being this person who can share with such truth, with such honesty? Because some of these things that, you may say, or we may want to say, it's things we may say to friends and family, but don't quite have that courage to say it online. How has that come about?
I think how it came about is from being bullied very badly online. And I think I was so scared of that happening because I was bullied as a child, that once it did happen, it happened very early on in this, it gave me freedom of sorts, because it was like, well, the worst thing has happened. So actually, I'm not scared anymore of saying anything. And it kind of made me realize that I didn't need external validation. I mean, I must have been cancelled 100 times by now. My biggest thing is to live a life as if you've already been cancelled, because it's so freeing. And so when you have that, when you have no need for external validation because you know who you are, then it brings about a freedom. It also brings about a feistiness that for some people, it isn't, they don't like that. And it kind of affronts them a little bit. But that's okay, because if you are somebody that doesn't need external validation and you know who you are, you can really just be you, and you can talk about your failures, and you talk about things that you did wrong, and you can talk about what mistakes you've made and be completely comfortable with that, because you're not needing someone to love you or to like you. You're just being you.
Yeah. And with yourself, do you have any kind of, I don't know, self-development practices, habits?
To an extent, not in the normal way that you might see it. I'm a very reflective person. I do journal. So like I do write down everything I'm thinking so I can go back and see the change and see the patterns. I have a mindset coach who really helps me look deeper. I'm in and out of therapy whenever I kind of need it. But I don't do anything in the way, like, how some people do meditation, for instance, or inner work. Yeah. I don't really, and have never really. I've tried, but it's not suited me. And so I think sometimes being this honest online, especially to my community, my membership, is my therapy. I think it is my meditation. It's a way that I can be completely open, and there's something that is therapeutic about being able to be really open.
Absolutely, because there's an element of, I guess, profound awareness that comes about when somebody is being so honest, so vulnerable. It almost is also like a bit of a mirror for people. It's like, yeah, I'm going through that. I've never said it, but that kind of now gives me a bit of a permission slip to do that.
That's what I'm hoping for. That's why I do it. So I'm talking quite a lot at the moment about what if you've made the money and you want to make less money and have a different type of business. Now, I think there's a lot of people in the industry that are feeling like that right now. Like they've got to a certain stage and it's too scary for them to say, well, admit this isn't actually where I wanted to be. I kind of enjoyed 3 years ago or whenever it was. And so I want to go backwards. People feel really fearful of looking like they're going backwards, or looking like they're pivoting in some way, or they made a mistake, or they aren't quite in alignment. And I just think you don't need to. People want to work with people that they see themselves in. And all of us make mistakes and all of us do stupid things. We all do.
Having a human experience.
Exactly. And so it's okay to just admit things when they're not quite right, because then other people, especially if you're a leader, like, I think you almost have a duty to stop pretending that everything's perfect all the time and to show that actually life is messy and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's not failure.
Yeah. It reminds me of a quote I heard, life is a workbook of problems to be solved. And and when we navigate that with that kind of honesty and, let the guards down a little bit and be like, yeah, actually, I am going through this. And when people like you who do share so openly and honestly, it does, like I say, give others a permission slip to be like, oh, she's doing it, and she's also got problems and frustrations and challenges.
Yeah.
that's okay.
All right. So, yeah, it's why I talk about mental health so much. I have got anxiety and depression. I've had it since a teenager. And so many people don't talk about that because they're worried what people might think of them in a CEO role or a business role. But actually, I think half the world has mental health issues. Like, why are we trying to hide this when actually we could be supporting each other with it all the time? And you can be high functioning and have mental health issues, and it doesn't mean anything. We put meanings onto everything. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Which nicely actually brings me into what I would like to ask you next, because yes, as we're challenging and navigating all these different things, and then in business comes different sort of curveballs, and also comes, some major wins and successes. So in both scenarios, how do you anchor yourself and continue to anchor yourself into your own vision and mission when there's, big curveballs and also major successes?
I think through your values. I think the thing that has always helped me is going always back to the values, the things that are important to me, not just me, my team and my business. We all hold very similar values. And so, we've had things before that could have been huge money makers that they weren't the right things to do because they didn't fit with our values. And it's really easy in this industry to think, well, there's so much that can make you money. There really is a million ways to make £1 million. And so when those things are like in front of you and you can do them, doesn't mean you should. So, there's been lots of different times when people have come to me and said, oh, if you do this, we can make this much money. Or if you do an advert for this keto coffee and say that the reason that you've lost weight is because you drank this coffee, we'll give you 50,000. And it's a very easy no if you have values. It's very easy to stay grounded and to stay on the path that you should be on if you have values to guide you. Without values, I think it's very difficult, and there's lots of different ways you could go. But I also think having the right people around you. My team are my family and friends. And that makes things much easier, because if I want to do something, they will very quickly be the blockers of things that are wrong for me to do, or things that are vanity projects, or things that are not aligned to the mission that we really have out there. They will very quickly pull me back. Whereas I think if I didn't have family and friends doing that, I might have yes people around me, and I definitely don't want that.
Yeah. And I guess that kind of really nicely leans into the importance of having a mission, purpose, vision that everybody is on board with. How do you go about keeping that alive?
Yeah, well, we're actually changing ours right now, because I think you can evolve, and the things that you become can evolve, and the things that you want to do in life can evolve. And so we always need to be looking at it, making sure it's still in alignment. How we do it as a team is we all sit down and we all talk about it, because this isn't my business. It's a team effort. And so it cannot be my mission. Everyone has to be involved in it, because they're the ones driving it there, not just me. So they need to have that buy-in. And so it has to come from them too. And so we all do that together. And then we remember our values and we remember our mission every time we're doing something new. Does this sit with the mission? So for instance, we've had to change our mission recently, because for me, so much should be about impact over income. And really, our mission wasn't that. It was, to help as many people make as much money as possible. And we did that. We made a lot of people millionaires. But that wasn't sitting very well with me. I didn't feel in alignment most recently in the last couple of years with that. And so actually, before we can even properly change our mission and sit down and do it, we just tweaked it to impact over income. So, and that really helps. So for instance, we're doing a launch in January, which usually has 4 different goals, if you like. One is always financial, and one might be PR, and one might be something else. But this time we have 3, and one is not financial. And instead we have an impact goal. How many people have we impacted, even if that's just in the free challenge, rather than how many sales are we making? Because I think it's really easy to start seeing sales instead of people. We're in the people business. We're changing people's lives. those figures don't mean very much when you think of it in that way.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And actually, you know, how long now have you been in the coaching industry space?
Nearly 9 years.
9 years. What have you seen in the 9 years? You know, you're probably a great
lot.
because yeah, it's really evolved and changed. What are the
Massively.
key things that you've seen, and where do you see it going even?
I've seen some really good things. I've seen more people believe in themselves, and I've seen more people have a ripple effect downwards in society for all good things, which is brilliant. I've seen negative things. I've seen that a lot of the people that wanted to start out because they wanted to help people and make a really good income for themselves, maybe even like 5 or 6 years ago, I've seen that change a lot to people just wanting to make money no matter how. And especially in the last year, I've seen more of that, like money is the most important thing. And it doesn't matter how you get there, just get the money in. That's a real shame because I don't think that people came into this industry with that mission. And so, you know, if we want to change something, we have to change it ourselves. And so that's why we're showing that we can go back to where we were, and everybody can go back to what they were doing. If they feel out of alignment, they can change it. And so I've seen those kind of changes. Obviously, social media has changed so much since I started. It's a completely different game. I've seen that social media was the most important thing to now being the least important thing in growing a business. I just don't think it's very important at all. I think that AI is really having an effect, a really interesting effect, because it's polarizing people. And I don't think that's a bad thing. People are either going all in on AI or going all in on personal brand without AI. And I think there are clients for both. And so I think that works really well. And they're really putting their stake in the ground of what they think. For me, I really believe that AI has a place, but not front facing. I think all AI is about the assistance in the background. So yeah, I mean, so much of it's changed. The market this year has changed more than I've ever seen before. I know people are seeing that as a bad thing. I'm seeing it as a good thing. I feel like it's going to get rid of a few charlatans because people are being much more discerning. They are looking into things more. They're doing due diligence more. That can never be a bad thing, even though it seems it at the time that people are taking longer to make decisions. It's a good thing. And it makes us all level up, and we should.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And in terms of coaching, and because now, you know, you've got like the AI coaching and these different ways that people can be learning and also being coached. What's your take on the sort of human experience and the AI coaching experience?
I think we have to be really careful with that. I've seen people put out AI coaches for things that need the human experience, for things that are actually quite dangerous not to have, and I'm not in agreement with them. I also believe that people might think they want AI because it's cheaper, but that after a period of time, people will realize why they really needed the human experience and why actually you get what you pay for. I think that when it comes to systemized things, AI is brilliant. When it comes to replacing a human, it can never happen because it can do systemized things. It can't have empathy. It can't understand. It can't use up their own experience to say, oh, I remember when I felt like this. This is really common. It can't do any of those things. It can't use stories that's happened to it to show somebody how something can work. And that's where I think the human experience comes into its own and will never be replaced. And actually, I think it's AI is doing us a favor. Those of us that really do have a personal brand, and that is how we differentiate ourselves, that's going to become even more so.
I was just going to ask, how much more important do you think personal brand is going to be going forward?
It's the only important thing,
right?
Is being a personal brand, because everything else can now be replaced.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, in absolutely agreement in that, and the whole sort of having more human experiences. And it's interesting that you said about, you know, how maybe well, social media will become less, and
Yeah.
it feels like there's going to be more community, more interactive, human experiences and events and stuff that will really, and I've already started, and I'm sure you have as well, already started seeing the shift
Yeah.
since COVID, and like, how these sort of all these kind of events and community spaces are popping up. And I think, there's that element of that's kind of how networking used to be.
Yeah, and I think it will go back to it.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, people want in person. People really feel that need for human connection because the world's scary right now. And when the world is scary, people come together. And so they need more of that. And I do think people are getting a bit tired of everything being online. Like,
Yeah.
especially now AI has come in, it almost feels like everything is on a screen. And actually, how much nicer is it when we do see each other in person? It's so much nicer. It's a much better experience.
Nothing beats a hug, huh?
Well, I'm not a hugger, but
Are you
nothing beats
not?
being around people. Yeah, I've never been a hugger, but I am somebody that loves to be around people.
Yeah. And then that's what I've also, observed and loved about you in that sense. I've met you, like I said, in different
Yeah,
rooms, and it feels like you've always got time for people to be just like, even if it's quick hello and how are you, that kind of thing. That's really nice. And actually coming back to, how do you maintain that kind of level of a simple kindness? Because I, personally, and you may have also personally seen when people have had success, be it monetary impact, whatever, and you see them again and again, and you feel a different shift, and
yeah.
it takes something to maintain that level of warmth and kindness. How do you continue to?
It's very simple. The only reason you are in that room is those people. The only reason that you have the money or the impact you have are those people. The only reason I have a Sunday Times bestseller is those people. I think that people talk about how to grow a loyal audience because they know that a loyal audience is really important. I talk a lot about growing a loyal audience. The real way of growing a loyal audience is to be loyal back. Like, we also, it's not one way, these relationships. You're there because of them, and we need to remember that. Like, have a bit of humility, because without an audience and without the people that want to stop you and talk to you, however big that you've got, there is no you. Like, you won't have the platform if it isn't for the people giving you the platform. And we just need to remember that, I think. And
Yeah.
I've also seen people who, you know, you've seen and they've been really down to earth, and you've been able to talk to them, and then 3 years later you can't get anywhere near them. Like, they come in, got bodyguards, they're on the stage. I never want to become that person. Like, the connection is why I do it. Without that connection, I don't think I'd even bother doing it.
Yeah. And I feel like you continue to remain connected through your socials, and just simple examples of, just your trips, the things that you do. By the way, the Orient Express trip looked,
It was really fun.
oh my God, it looked epic. And
It
is
was,
it as epic as, yeah, it
it was
looked it.
so nice. It's just one of those things that you can't really imagine until you're on. I felt like I was in like the 1920s. It was
Yeah,
amazing.
like just
And
transported back. That's what I was just
yeah,
so good.
it was so
And also the different experiences, you go to Las Vegas, and the different things you do with your kids and that kind of thing. Where should people, well, actually, no, that's not the question. That for me is, I'm just going to do my own reflection of, like, that keeps you real, and that connection continues on and offline in that sense. For people where, they feel like, oh, I'm not sure, should I, shouldn't I, that kind of thing. Where are their boundaries? How have you
yeah.
to say,
It's
yeah, this is okay to share my personal, friends,
yeah.
kids, business?
I think it's really personal. I
Mm,
think I have a lot of clients that don't want to share anything, and that's okay. They're showing themselves, they're showing up for their audience, and that's enough. And then there are lots of people that kind of do share everything. But for instance, my kids were very happy for me to share them until now. And now they're 14, they've gone like, we don't really want to be on your socials anymore. And that's up to them, like, we have to be respectful of what our families want. Like, there are some of my family that love being like in my Instagram stories, and there are some that don't, and that will always be the case. And I think it's just up to you and how you feel about it, and your intuition will usually tell you what's the right thing. Like for me, I've always been happy to share most things. People do think they know 100% of my life. They probably know 20.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot that I don't share, and that's
Yeah.
okay. We don't have to share everything to show up.
Yeah, I agree. Right, I'm going to finish off with one more last question of what are one or two lessons you'd like other entrepreneurs to take away from your own sort of way of being?
Oh, that's a good one. I think one of them is just to start. Whatever you're thinking of doing, just start it. So many times I wanted things to be perfect, and they're never going to be. Even now, they're never perfect. Like, we do things messy and then we refine as we go along. So I think if you're thinking of doing anything and you're just like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for that yet, just do it not ready and see what happens, because you'll learn anyway. And I think my biggest lesson for anyone is to live life as if you've already been cancelled. I don't want anyone to ever fear saying something they want to say in case someone's offended, or saying, not saying a belief that they have in case somebody else doesn't have that belief. It's okay to be you, and it's okay to talk about anything that you want to talk about. You don't have to be liked by everyone. You will still be okay not being, I'm very Marmite. 50% of people like really can't stand me and 50% really like me. And that's okay. We don't have to be liked by all. And I always think if you are liked by all, you're probably not being true to yourself anyway.
Wonderful. You gave more than two, and that's very generous of you, and very generous of you to share your time with me today. Lisa, where can people find you? How can they get in touch with you? What would you like to tell them? Point them
the
somewhere.
easiest way to get in touch is Instagram, because that's the only place you'll actually get me replying rather than a team member. So that's Lisa Johnson Strategist on Instagram. So yeah, just come and hang out there and say hi, so I know who you are, and I'll reply there.
All right. Thank you so much, Lisa. Take care.
Worries.
Catch you online.
See you online.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.